Hola pescaditos, welcome back to the channel, and let's just hop straight into this video. I want to take a couple of videos and talk about kind of my workflow and my approach to filming a fishing video for YouTube. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is the gear that I use, and then we'll later on do some videos on kind of how I approach filming, how I approach editing, and all that good stuff. So I want to preface this basically by saying that one, this isn't meant to be a tutorial on like how to use this gear. I'm not an expert on using this gear. I'm always learning. I've learned a lot over the past year and some change using these specific items. I have a little bit of experience before that using camera equipment and some of the just kind of like concepts around filming in general, but no means an expert. And this is just an overview of the equipment, so it's not meant to be a tutorial, but I want to explain what I use and kind of what I like about using it. So the other caveat of this is you don't need expensive equipment to make good videos. 75 to 90% of it is going to be kind of like your shot composition, how you're using lighting, and just kind of using the things that are available to you to maximize the equipment. The equipment that I have right now, it's capable of a lot more than I use it for, and it'll probably be a little while before I ever get to a point where this equipment that I use now is limiting what I'm doing. That being said, let's get started. So when I started making fishing YouTube videos in particular, I was using two cameras, and it's going to be pretty commonplace if you're making a fishing video that you need at least one camera, that being an action camera, something that you could probably chest mount to get that typical POV shot that we see in fishing videos. The alternative would be using one camera and setting it up on a tripod or something like that away from you and capturing everything. So I was using both of those to start out. I was using basically an action camera and then a secondary point and shoot camera that was sometimes my main camera for like talking headshots, and then also sometimes doing B-roll, which is also kind of the method that I use now with the equipment that I've transitioned to. Anyways, started out with a GoPro Hero 3 that my wife gave me, I think for Christmas, a long time ago, probably right around when the Hero 3 or Hero 4 came out, I would think. And I had it laying around when I decided I want to do some fishing videos, and I thought, hey, this would work perfect for it. I used this for maybe half a dozen videos or so before I ended up upgrading. And what I upgraded to, what did I do with it? I got it, I had a bag covering it up. Anyways, what I upgraded to was a GoPro Hero 7 Black. I got this used on Facebook Marketplace, and I did that because when you are filming fishing videos, you're around water a lot, there's a chance that you can drop something in there and just completely lose it, or cameras and electronics in general don't really play well with water. That being said, the Hero 7 is waterproof or water resistant, at least to a certain depth for a certain length of time. It doesn't do me a lot of good because I run it with one of the side doors off of it so I can run external power to it, which I'll talk about either later in this video or probably in a different video why I run it that way. But the Hero 7 was a big upgrade from the 3, mainly in just some of like the video quality and frame rates that you could choose. I've shooting 4K 30 frames per second on the Hero 7. It's touchscreen and it's got some good image stabilization. If you're considering getting a GoPro, maybe you're tight on a budget or something, I would say you could go far back as the GoPro Hero 5, finding one used. That's when there was probably a pretty significant jump in the video quality and then also image stabilization, all the way up to there at GoPro 10 now. But 5 through 8, I think you kind of get increases in your image stabilization, and after that, I'm not familiar enough with a 9 or 10 to comment on those. But I've been super happy with this Hero 7, and I have no desire or inclination to really upgrade at any point. If it becomes readily available, maybe. But for now, as long as I'm in good sunlight, I'm super happy with this. So onto the second camera, which is also kind of quasi your main camera, shoot B-roll with it, talking headshots, etc. So what I started with was the Sony A5000, and it's just a little point and shoot camera, and it came with an f3.5 16-50 kit lens, but worked out great. And I used this for probably a dozen or so videos before I upgraded, which I'll talk about what camera I got for that in just a second. But you can get good video quality out of these cameras. You just leave it in the auto setting, let it do its thing. Again, as long as you're in pretty good light, it performs well. You don't really have to edit anything after the fact. Like, the colors coming from the camera are great. Another good thing about this camera that I liked is the back LCD screen. It flips up, so you could kind of do your like selfie shot, and you could tell if you're in frame or whatever the case may be, and set it up how you like it. Made it super easy. The downside of this camera, and one of the main things that led me to upgrading it, is there is no way to connect an external mic to it. And I feel like that just as important as your video quality, you got to have good audio on YouTube, or people won't stick around and watch it. Not that that's like a hard and fast rule, because actually I think my two most viewed videos on YouTube right now, as the channel stands, were shot with this camera. One entirely with this camera, and the other, this camera, I think the Hero 7. So anyways, after about a dozen videos or so, I had the opportunity to upgrade this camera, and the shots that you're about to see of the camera I upgraded to are going to be on this camera. So maybe it'll give you a good idea if it's worth looking into for you, if you want a good budget option for a B-roll camera. But anyways, I upgraded to a Sony A6300, and I feel like at that point my video quality started to step up a good bit. Part of that is just the camera and what the camera body is capable itself, as far as the sensor, being able to shoot at a higher image quality, and some different frame rate options. But in general, the biggest thing with it was just the customizability, the ability to customize the settings in the A6300 was far superior to the A5000. So I was able to create kind of like a base shooting look, and then go in and post in my editing and get the colors that I was after and things. And a lot of that took some experimentation. But the settings that I use for my A6300, I'm going to annotize it right here, and the link will be below. I just copied the settings for this video, maybe tweaked it a hair to my liking, but it gave me a good platform to be able to color correct and, all that kind of stuff in post, which is a whole skill and learning process in and of itself that I'm working on improving on. But anyways, that was a big upgrade in quality as far as that goes. And then when I first got it, I was just using the same kit lens that was on this A5000, but the last kind of major upgrade I made to my shooting equipment was a Sony G20mm lens, which is actually meant for a full frame camera, but in the 6300 is a crop sensor, so it's kind of more like a 30mm lens. But I've used that in my last several videos, and the biggest upgrade there is just the autofocus on it is so much faster, and its ability to find focus is a lot better. So I know I could sit down in front of the camera and I'm reasonably sure, hey, it's focused on me, I'm not wasting a shot. Also a lot better in low light, and just a lot crisper, cleaner image in general. But that's what I'm running right now, is the Sony A6300 and the GoPro Hero 7. You've probably noticed in some of my videos, and if you haven't, if you go back, you'd see it. I occasionally use a drone in some of my videos. It's a DJI. I'm not sure of the model because I'm not the one flying it. It's my dad's drone. Sometimes he comes out with me and gets me some cool aerial shots, and a lot of people seem to like those in the video. But other than that, I try to keep it pretty simple. I use my Sony A6300 for talking headshots like this, close-up shots of like fish when I catch them, my B-roll shots of like the landscape, or close-ups of things that I find interesting. And I really try to use it as much as I can. The GoPro is catching all of the action typically, but the mindset that and the approach that I take to editing now is I'm trying to use my better camera, as much as I can in the video, just because I think it adds to the quality of it. And that's how I want to shoot stuff. But the last thing I want to talk about, though, with this camera equipment is protecting it, because that is, you know, it's not a good feeling when you drop a camera in the water, which unfortunately I've done before. I dropped my A6300 in the water one time right at the bank, and I ended up having to pay to get it repaired. It's cheaper than replacing it. Fortunately, it was a relatively inexpensive repair in the long run of things. But so what I do now, in order to make sure that that doesn't happen, hold on, let me grab the bag. So I've got a not waterproof, water resistant, splash resistant, rain proof camera bag. If my camera's ever out on the deck of my kayak, or even just in my backpack when I'm bank fishing, I usually have it in this bag, contained within another bag, or on my kayak in the front hatch. And I leave it in there, just because, especially in a kayak, you never know when it's going to flip. And this kind of works like a dry bag. I mean, it is a dry bag essentially. Your camera goes face down in there. You roll this up. It buttons again like a dry bag, and it's got a flap that goes over it. Relatively quick to access, and a lot of peace of mind as far as not worrying about some water getting in electronics somewhere where you don't want it. So shout out to Peter. I think he got this for me for Christmas 2 years ago or something like that. And it's been pretty useful ever since. So anyways, the upcoming videos, I want to talk about kind of how I approach shooting a video, as far as what I'm looking for when I'm filming shots, how I ensure that I don't have a crazy amount of footage to sift through to edit later on, my editing process, and then finally just some considerations and approach to what I'm trying to do on YouTube with these videos. But hopefully this was somewhat interesting for you. If it's not, I'm sure I'll see based on the view count. But if you like this kind of thing, throw a like out there, leave a comment, let me know what kind of cameras you're running to film your videos. And if you feel like you're happy with where they're at, or if you want to upgrade to something else, or what the case may be. But this has been Caleb with Certified Dinks. We'll catch you on the next one.